Alright folks, I hope y'all can see this. I know it's been a while since I shot a video, but what I have in here are some pork chops. And actually I have them in a brine. I'll put the link to the brine that I use, which is in another video actually. But these are pork chops, and I've had them sit in this brine since last night. I said, you know what? Let me come in here and do a fried pork chop video. Alright, first things first, I'm going to go ahead and take these pork chops out of this bag. And like I said, these are center cut. Some of these are center cut. I think it was an assortment pack. But like I said, they've been sitting in the brine for about a complete day now. And they smell good. Boy, I got some of that Cajun seasoning in there. Some of that crab boil in there in that brine. Got them onions. Y'all know how I do it. So I'm going to go ahead and take these out. Let them drain right here in this. And then I'll be back and we'll go and show you the rest. Yeah, boy. Just like that, folks, we're ready to go. We got our portobello mushrooms, got our green onions, got our Valdalia onions. And hell, we might even add a little bay leaf to that gravy to kick that thing up a little bit. So everything ready to go for that gravy. Let's go ahead and get these things, pork chops, battered up, fried up. Y'all stay tuned. All right, now here's our flour right here. Here's our pork chops. We just had them in there. They're draining. That's all they're doing. They're just draining some of that brine off. No, I'm not going to rinse the brine off. The brine was nice and salty, great flavor, but I'm not going to rinse it off because I'm not going to go that heavy with salt in my fry batter. And yes, those are my seasonings. You got the Eric's Gourmet Grill and Dust and so on. Just in case y'all want to know, shop.therullandcrew.com. Yeah, boy. All right, so we're going to add a little bit of kosher seasoning to the flour. Just a little bit. Like I said, I season the pork chops up pretty good. And I'm going to go with some simple Italian seasoning. Your oregano, you know, your thyme, your rosemary. I'm going to go kind of heavy with this one, though. Alright, and now a little twist to it. Ground turmeric. Great color, great flavor. And I'm going to go pretty heavy on that. That's probably like a little less than a tablespoon. Alright, so let's whip this up. Put the pork chops in there. We'll be right back. Oh, and I also added a little garlic powder. You know you got to have a little garlic powder in there. So, let's mix that thing on up. And yes, I'm on one hand this. I'm not going to use a tripod. You know, I was getting ready to fry these pork chops. I said, you know what? Somebody in America want to know how I fry them pork chops because they may want to do it the same way. So let me go ahead and put a video together. Alright, so pork chop. It's already wet, as you can see. And all I'm going to simply do is just dredge them right here in this flour. Now, back in the day, my mama used to put them in a brown paper bag and shake the hell out of it, and you know that was the original shake and bake. But I'm not gonna do that. I'm using one hand. I'm just gonna coat them up. If you wanted your batter extra thick on these pork chops, then of course let them sit, dip them back in some water, and then put them back in this flour. But I'm not doing all that. I'm not doing all that because I mean we're gonna make a gravy anyway, so you know no need to do all that. So I'm going to go ahead and put these to the side, get the rest of them battered up, and we'll be right back. Alright, there goes my frying pan, my cast iron. I had it on like medium heat because you know once this cast iron get hot, man, you know it take a while to get it knocked back down. Then my beautiful pork chops, I let them sit for a little bit so the flour can tack into it a little bit. But you know, as always, before you put anything in grease, you got to test it out. See if it's look like it's ready to fry. Like it's ready to fry to me, I'm gonna cut it up just a little bit. But yeah, y'all, we in comfort food hour, man. This is comfort food season, man. All that you was doing this summer to get fine, that's over with. It's the fall time now, man. It's back to comfort food. It's back to soup, gumbo, fried pork chops, smothered, and all that good stuff, man. So if you don't know how to fry chicken or pork chops, you better learn. So I got 3 of them in there right now. I'm going to let these roll out. I'll let y'all see what it look like when I flip it over. And for those, it's like turmeric in the seasoning in the flour for pork chops. Man, that's crazy. Try it. If you never tried it, try it. If you never tried turmeric, period, try it. Turmeric is actually a really good seasoning. It's good for you. Good spice, rather. It's good for you. And it adds some good flavor. So I'm going to let these roll for probably about, I don't know, about 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 minutes. Whoever knows. Once they get the color I'm looking for, I'll flip them over. This is vegetable oil, by the way. Y'all stay tuned. Alright, pork chops still going. And again, ladies, you gotta learn how to fry some chicken or some pork chops. Fellas, And these, I'm talking about single ladies and single fellas. You gotta learn how to fry some chicken and some pork chops. Trust me. Learn how to fry some chicken and the pork chops. You won't be single too much longer, man. Again, this is cuddle season. It's the fall time. So, you gotta learn how to cook, bro. So make sure you watch my channel. I'm gonna give you all the tips and tricks you need to secure that lady in your life this fall season. But look at that, y'all. Yes, sir. Alright, y'all, see that go to pork chops. You know, it's always that pork chop right there that's gonna pop up. Really, all you had to do was just cut it, a little piece right there, and that would have kept it flat. But we ain't worried about that. These may be a little light skinned. It always seemed like the first set of pork chops come out light skinned, but we ain't sweating that. That gravy gonna be brown though. So I'm gonna go ahead and get these flipped over. They probably been in here probably about a little less than 10 minutes, probably about 8 minutes. So I'm gonna let them go ahead and cook on the other side, and we're gonna keep this train rocking, y'all. Stay tuned. Pork chops. Ooh, look at that. Yes, sir. Alright, y'all, because I brine these, I can take these a little bit further because they full of moisture. So as you can see, I'm starting to get some good color on them. So these look good. I'm gonna go ahead and take these out because again, we're gonna do them like my mama used to do them. We're gonna smother them suckers in gravy, so they're gonna continue to cook through. So I'm gonna go ahead and take these out. That one also. Yes, sir. I'm gonna go ahead and take that one out. And let's check this one. Look at that. Beautiful. So we're going to go ahead and take these out, let that grease drain off of them. You give your grease about 5-10 seconds to replenish yourself. And back in there with that second set of them pork chops. Yes, sir. Y'all stay tuned. Almost there. We got but one more pork chop to fry. Yes, sir. Alright, just in case you was wondering how I had the pork chops that I just fried. What I did with them, I actually put them in just like a regular old mesh strainer. It's got plenty of holes in it, they'll get plenty of air, just so they won't get mushy, because if you lump them together like that, they're going to start getting mushy, and all that good sear and browning off this pork chop going to start getting wet. So I just gave them enough space in between, let the air keep the crust intact, and we rocking and rolling. Yes, sir. There's always one pork chop that don't quite make it to the gravy, and that's this one. Don't tell nobody. All right, y'all, and there we have it. The rest of the pork chops is ready. GBD, golden brown delicious. So I'm gonna go ahead and take these out, and we'll get this gravy started. And for some of you folks out there that's like, man, you could have just fried them pork chops in a fry daddy. No, bruh, no, sis, that ain't gonna work. You ain't gonna get that good gravy frying them in no fry daddy, man. You got to do it in a cast iron skillet, so that you can get all them good brownings, all that good crust that's gonna fall off and hit the bottom of that pan. So let's take these out, build this gravy, y'all. Alright, y'all, very important step that I did not show y'all was me draining all of that hot grease out of this cast iron into another cast iron. I left just a little bit in there that's gonna help me build my gravy. Very important step. So going in with the onions and the portobello mushrooms. Get those up in there. Get on. Everybody got to go. Get on up in there. We're gonna let these cook down for a little bit, and then I'll continue to show y'all what I'm doing next to build this gravy. All right. I'm just gonna work all this around. And as you can see, you see all them little bits and stuff at the bottom of this pan. That's what the onions and then mushrooms, that juju from the onions and the mushrooms, gonna get all that off of there. How much onions do you use? How much mushroom do you use? You know, this is a whole onion. This is one whole Vidalia onion, and this is like 3 large size mushrooms cut up. You know, and this is, I just cut them up just like that. You know, I just shave the onion up, not too thin though. You don't want to do it too thin. Got to put a little. Let me see if I can grab one. About that thick. Got to put a little thickness on it. You don't want to make it too skinny. And so I'm just going to wilt these down. I'm going to cook these down real good. And then I will move on to adding, not the stocks yet. I'm actually going to use the seasoned flour that I had. I'm going to add this to it. Let that brown up a little bit. And then I'm going to come back with the stocks. And I don't have enough chicken stock, so I'm going to have to use some consomme with a little bit of water. So y'all stay tuned. It's about to go down up in here. We almost finished, y'all. Alright, so I usually don't, but I did. I added some carrots to it. I also added some minced garlic in there. And you know, back in the day, man, my folks used to use bay leaf for everything, man. Anything that had something to do with some smothering or some beans had a bay leaf. So I'm going to throw a bay leaf in there too. And we're going to cook this down and work that thing on in there and let it exude its flavor. Alright, now we're going to go in a little bit of that flour that we use to season our pork chops with. And I'm going to start off small. That may be a little less than a cup. Because again, you know, you don't want to add too much flour. If you want a thick gravy, then, you know, add more flour. If you want a thin one, then you got to pull back a little bit, which is hard for some people. Sometimes it's hard to pull back on that flour. We're just going to cook the flour out. It's almost going to look like it's just a glop of mess, but that's what you want. We're just going to cook it out for a little bit, then we're going to come in with our stocks. Alright, I let this cook down with the flour for about 5 minutes. Total, it's probably cooked down for about 10 minutes. 5 minutes without the flour, and then 5 minutes with the flour. So now we're going to go in with our stocks. I'm going to go in first with my chicken stock because I had a half a container of that. Now, you got to crank your heat up a little bit because it becomes thick. The more heat, the more it's going to heat the pan up, the more it's going to become real nice and thick. You want to bring it up to almost like a boil so it can start to thicken up that gravy. Alright, now, I did not season. The flour had a little bit of salt in it. I don't want to go too crazy because my pork chops is seasoned pretty good. But I'm going to go ahead and go in with a little bit of water. And I'm going to go in with a little bit of chicken, dried chicken stock basically. Chicken powder, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to go in with just a smidgen. I ain't trying to go too crazy because I know these pork chops are seasoned to the T. And so I'm going to let this cook down for a little bit. I don't want it thick and I don't want it too loosey-goosey when I add these pork chops. I want it kind of like right in the middle. Because like I say, the pork chops, once I put these pork chops in there, it's going to thicken it up even more. Alright, now we got it just where I want it. I'm going to add a little salt, just a smidgen of salt and pepper to it. Mix that in there real good. You can see how it's kind of loosey-goosey, not too thick, not too wet. That's perfect. I already tasted it. It's good to go. So now it's time to start adding them pork chops in there. Just like that. Just like your mama used to do it back in the day. Just like that. Lay them pork chops in there just like that. We're going to crank that heat up to about a little bit less than medium. And we're just going to let them come to a slow simmer, y'all. Let me see if I can get up on them chops like that. And I'm just going to let them smother themselves, man. Let the flavor from the pork chops mix up with the gravy. And it's going to be delicious, man. See that? This is how you smother pork chops back in the day. You ain't make the gravy and drizzle it on top. You smother them suckers up in there with the gravy. Alright, back in the day, you either left them on the stove and just let them slow simmer like this, or you stuck them in the oven. Most of the time, when my folks used to leave them on the stove, they would put a little piece of foil on top of it. And so that's what I'm going to do. I don't really want to mess up the crust, so I ain't going to fold it over. I'm just going to tint it with a little bit of foil. Alright, and there you have it, folks. If you don't have that little crinkle in your crust, then you might not smother them things right. These are ready to go, so let's go ahead and get that thing plated up. Gotta have a little bit of that smoked meat on. Hit that with a little bit of spring onion. You got to have that smothered pork chop right. And you go right on top like that. Right on top like that, y'all. Smothered pork chop like mama used to make it. Some good old rice with some smoked navy beans with a little smoked turkey. And just like that, this meal is complete. You want to be a little fancy, add a little something to that too. So I want to thank y'all for joining me at the Rolling Grill. I'll catch y'all in the next video. Yeah, boy.